How's it looking and sounding?
It looks good. It is moving. See, so I'm okay in the side over here, Kate? Like this? Okay. All right.
But just throw those pillows. You see, I have two of them closed up there in the cabinet. They're just too big and in the way to me.
Okay.
Okay.
I use it to prop up my arm when I do my blood pressure.
Good, good. Well, Marilyn, talk a little bit about we were talking about Granddad Major a little bit, just off the cuff about him and what you remember. I'm interested in his personality.
Oh, Alan. Oh. He was wonderful. I remember he just tickled to death with all his children. He was really pleased with me. He thought he wanted all boys. And then I came along and he decided that girls were good. But I tagged around behind him. I'd go with him to the farm. I'd go with him, I couldn't go to the bank and tag around, but he'd come in every afternoon. He'd put on khaki pants. And folks have said to me that they could set their clock by Major. And when he drove by their farms, when he was going to his farms to see that everything was going on. And I'd be sitting in the car with him. I'd get out and open the gate. I remember doing that at the
How old were you at that time?
I was 5 or 6 or 7. I continued to go with him. I just loved to tag along with him. And I took piano, and I never got really good. But when he would come in just like clockwork every day to dinner at 11:30. He was diabetic and he stayed on a schedule. He ate at certain times. And he ate at 11:30 every day but Sunday. And he couldn't eat it on Sunday until he got home from church. And we would get so tickled sitting in church with him at his stomach growling.
He was really hungry, right?
He just was on such of a schedule, but that was the way they treated diabetics back then.
When was he diagnosed, you think, with diabetes?
He was diagnosed with diabetes when he was about 33.
Okay.
And he would go through, he'd come through, he'd leave the bank, he'd come through the mercantile, he'd come through the grocery store, he'd get him a little 6-ounce Coca-Cola. And he got to where he was drinking several of those a day.
Is that good though for a diabetic?
No, that's when they found out.
Oh, this is before, okay, before.
That's before they diagnosed that he had it. And then he adhered to the diabetic's diet. He didn't drink they didn't have Diet Coke. He didn't drink regular Coke. They had him to not eat desserts, to eat sweets. Well, today, to eat fruits, not sweets. But today, they limit the amount of fruit that you eat because of the sugar that's in fruit. But he would mother would cook all kind of desserts, but he would eat watermelon, or he would eat peaches, or he would eat fruit, which is what the doctors had told him to. But what I was going to tell you about the piano, I would be sitting there playing when he came in because I knew he loved it. And he would come in we had the music room, we had the breakfast room. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, he would come in that side porch. I'd be playing the piano. He would come to the piano and he would get my hand and pick me up and twirl me around the room, just like we were dancing. And he would sing, "Oh, my beautiful doll, my great big beautiful doll."
That's wonderful. That's a great memory.
That's the way he would come in at lunch, and then we would go in and we would sit down and we would have we'd have dinner. But he's the way, and he's the reason that I have no problem with God. Just always loving, always wanting you to come to him. Just always had my best interest at heart. And we always wanted to please him. Now, I'm not saying that we always did. I mean, we stayed out beyond our curfew sometimes.
Well, I was going to say, can you think of a time where you didn't please him and he got a little, upset, or did he? I'm sure he had his moods, right?
Well, he did, but they wanted us to be in at 10 o'clock. Couldn't date till I was 11, in the 11th grade. Wanted us to be in at 10 o'clock. Did extend that a little bit for our prom, but. And he wanted us, when we came in, to come by his room and kiss him goodnight. Just kiss him up on the top of the head, and he'd say, "Good night, I love you."
And he was in the bed or sitting in a chair?
He was in the bed.
Okay,
Oh yeah, he was in the bed, and that was a part of our day. And then but he would take. and I don't know if you remember this, Alan, but when we got married and we had children, he would pick y'all up and take y'all to the farm in the afternoon. Just like he used to take me.
Right,
you know.
right.
Now Milo didn't tag along and go to the farm. And Mark wasn't tagging along going to the farm. I don't know why. I don't know what they were doing. But I saw that he had a special feeling for me. And I, you know, I pretty much thought, though it was not true, it was just in my mind, that Mother loved Mark because he was the oldest, and Milo because she was the baby. I was accident prone. I had a lot of stuff that happened that aged them in a lot of ways.
Right.
Just because of swallowing the cassage pen, falling off trucks, falling skating and sticking sticks up.
Made them worry a lot. Probably, I'm sure Dee Dee.
Yeah.
She
said I
called
caused
her.
her to
You called her
break
mother, though, right?
I called her mother. I called her mother. And
What'd you
I called
call?
him Daddy.
Okay.
Called him Daddy. Always did. And just had we just had a really special connection. And then when I graduated, this is a funny thing, but when I graduated from high school, I started work at the bank the next day. And I'd never worked at the bank. I'd worked over at the Espy Mercantile Company and had done that from a little girl. We would go up there on Saturdays and we all just pitched in and worked. And but when I graduated from high school, I was going to start working in the summer in bookkeeping at the bank. Well, that was an upstairs job. But anyway, you could see in the old bank, you could see upstairs when you walked in the front door. And
did that include what became the jewelry store that later and now that's a clothing store? Was that including that, or just the side?
It still was just in that side, but it's been remodeled, you know, 2 or 3 times. But I had what I thought was a really cute dress. It was white. It was sleeveless. It was looked a lot like the styles that people are wearing today. It was full, but it went all the way down to my knees, and it had red smocking. It had no belt.
Okay.
And I put that on and wore that to work. And he came to me and he said, "Now, Marilyn, I want you to go home and change clothes." He said, "That dress looks like a maternity dress. And I don't want anybody coming in the bank seeing you in that dress because they might think something."
And he would say it, he'd have sort of a concern. But he could switch over and kind of be that. He could say, "Hey, I don't like that."
And so he said, "I want you to go home and change clothes," which I did. I went home and I came back and something. Well, that was always kind of a funny thing that the employees up there remembered about that. But I started in bookkeeping. I started filing. We used to have all those checks to file and ledger sheets. And I just really liked to work. I liked to have money of my own. And that was the only way to get it, was to work.
And prior to that, you said you worked over at the, I'm going to go back a little bit, you worked at the Espy
Mercantile Company.
And it was called Espy Mercantile Company, even though it was a clothing store?
It was a dry goods store or a clothing store. We had ladies, children's, babies. I think I told you that I worked for $5 a day, and I'd turn around and buy baby clothes to fit my doll.
And so all of you were over there at the same time, Dad and Mila, I assume she was over there, but
she was over there.
What about Dee Dee? Where was she at the time?
Mother was just kind of in the background trying to see what did we need at the store. We would go off to market in Birmingham.
Okay.
And that was great fun. It seemed like 5 or 6 hours to get there because we didn't have Interstate 65, but we would go 3 or 4 times a year to market. And Mother and one of the ladies that worked at the store would be in, they'd pick out the clothes that we were going to order to come in and be in stock in the store. And I can remember that we'd go in and we'd sit down and they'd give us candy. The vendors would give us candy, but they were showing their stock to the buyers. And then Mother would write down what she wanted to come to Espy Mercantile, but I can remember her and the other lady who was Nadine Redding at the time that I was going. But they would talk about this. Say, "Oh, that looks just like so and so. Oh, that looked just like so and so."
And that's how they would pick up.
And that's how they'd pick out what they wanted to come in and just be the goods that we had at the store. And there were several at that time dry goods stores in Headland, but I'm going to say that Espy's carried the nicest line of women's clothes, you know,
mhm.
and then, you know, one across the square, maybe
Mhm.
carried, but more things for children and
Right,
a little
right.
bit less expensive lines, and so anyway, that was fun. Mila and I would go up to Market, and they like to go. We had no Chinese places down here in South Alabama.
Really, that time?
But they would
Okay.
go to one, and I can't remember the name of it. We stayed at the hotel downtown. There were 2 hotels just on opposite corners, and that's where the buyers would stay.
Mhm.
And we'd walk down to that Joy Young's. That was the name.
In
of it.
Birmingham.
In
Okay.
Birmingham.
Okay.
Joy Young's, and of course I didn't eat any of that stuff. Don't eat much of it now, but anyway, that was kind of a treat to them. And Jim would come. He might have been in dental school.
He probably was.
He probably
yeah.
was in dental school.
Yeah.
He would come down there and eat with us.
Okay.
He would come down there and eat with us. And that's when I was a little girl. When I was at Sanford, Wayne Brown and Aunt Gracie's son was in medical school there.
Mm-hmm.
Jim would come up and visit them and get me, and he'd take us out to Chinese to eat.
Is that right?
So he's always been kind of he took us out
He
last
loves
night.
to entertain, right?
He took us out last night
and he seems to be around everybody in the family, right?
to Olive Garden, and then but he did that when I was in school at Sanford. I was up there from 63 to 67. You asked if I ever did anything that they didn't like.
I'm sure you did.
I don't think they never knew this. I don't think that they ever knew this. But when I was a senior at Sanford, they gave me a car. It was a Buick LeSabre. I took it up there in August. And in October, on October the 6th, Don's birthday, I cut classes. And I drove to Auburn. I knew it was the wrong thing to do.
But you were going to surprise him.
In their
right?
opinion,
in
but
their-
I was going to surprise. And Don and I were serious.
Mhm.
We got engaged the following Christmas, or the decent that Christmas.
And you started
that-
dating
of that year.
in high school, though, right? Your senior
No.
year, or
No. We were friends all the way through school. Always knew each other. We did not date each other until after we'd been off to college a year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So he was at Auburn. I was at Sanford. He would come up there for events that we had in the sorority, and I'd go down to a game or two.
Mm-hmm.
Went down when Leslie was born. That was I got to see
Good,
Don
good.
see Don then.
Do you know that I've got some letters that because Uncle Waddy kept a lot of things, as you know,
Yeah.
and some of them were letters that were written back around that time describing those very events around Leslie's birth that you were coming down.
I have one or two of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read them and they were interesting. And Waddy giving advice to
To
they
you
were,
about maybe you're not running for
about the
office
baby
or,
coming
okay.
and
That's right.
whatever. But anyway, I drove down there, and I knew it was wrong enough that I prayed all the way that I wouldn't have a wreck.
I hope you didn't close your eyes.
I didn't. I didn't. But I knew that slipping away was not a good thing. Now Mila was up there and she knew it, but I don't think she ever told him. And I had a good time while I was down there, and Don was real surprised, and I got back safely, and I just was so thankful. And I didn't tell them, and I don't think they knew that. But I'm sure that I did things that disappointed them in some way, but I tried my best not to.
Okay, that's good. Let me ask you this. Of course, we can edit this, not a big deal. But I'm curious. I know that that you visited Marion when Mother was there. I think you stayed with her.
I did.
Can you
I
talk
went
a
down
little
to
bit
her.
about just about that? I'm not necessarily your relationship with Mother, but just what at that time you were going there. And,
This was really something. This was my freshman year. And of course, we went to Marion a lot of times the year, my senior year. We'd get up on Saturday and go see Mark play football. But when I went down there, in my freshman year, I couldn't believe that Mother and Daddy approved this. But they had an assistant coach at Marion named Al Cate. And he was 10 years older than I was. Well, Daddy was 10 years older than Mother. So that concept wasn't foreign to him. But he asked me out. He asked me to come down there and be his date, like at homecoming. And I said, well, I don't know. Now, I mean, we just had friendly conversations, you know,
Mm-hmm.
after ball games.
Mm-hmm.
But Mother and Daddy said I could do that.
So you would go to them and ask them if that was okay. Do
I-
they know this Al K? Do they?
They certainly did know him, and they liked him. They thought he was you know. Well, I had gone steady with somebody else in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I went to college, I was going to date other people, if asked.
Mm-hmm.
If asked. And I did. I dated a few, but then going down there to having met him the year before, and I reckon he got my phone number from Mark, but he called up there and he asked me, and I said, well, let me think about it. Well, my thinking involved talking it over with Mother and Daddy, because I knew they were going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, he is a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking guy.
Right.
But he was so much older. But they said, well, they thought it would be okay. They were going to be down there, this and that. They okayed it. Well, I dated him several times after
Mhm.
that. But he came to Birmingham.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And they knew that. They
Mhm.
did, but they thought, well, now if I had come in and said, listen, he's proposed marriage and he wants me to drop out of school, they wouldn't have gone for that at all.
Right.
They wouldn't have gone for me marrying him. But they were okay that I dated him. But it was also during that year that I started dating Dawn.
Okay.
And there was one year that Al Kate was coming to Headland to scout.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called and he wanted me to come and go to the ball game with him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same time, Don was coming home that weekend.
Mhm.
He was wanting me to come home
So quite a lot of pressure on you,
and
right?
see him.
That's right.
and see him. And so I told him. I mean, he knew that I was dating Al Kate. He said, "Well, do you want to come to Headland and be with him or be with me?" And I said, "Well, I want to be with you, but I'm not going to come at all." That's the way I saw it.
Because you didn't want to be in that.
I didn't want to be in that
situation.
situation.
Okay.
So I said, just let me solve it. So I totally broke it off.
And how long after that
Okay.
was it solved, and did you start dating Don?
Oh, well, I had dated him some that summer, and I dated him some more that fall. But I didn't like that situation. And
I wouldn't like that either.
I didn't like that. And I liked Al Kate, and he was, like I said, he came to Birmingham some, but when he got down here to being on our turf and pitting me between, him and Don, I didn't want
You didn't want that.
I didn't want that.
What was Granddad Major's affiliation with Marion, besides the fact that Dad was not?
He didn't have any.
But as far as universities, he was affiliated, of course, with Howard College, Sanford. He was a
That's
trustee
where he
for
went.
numerous years.
He was made a trustee the year that I was a freshman up there. That was also the year that it changed from Howard College to Sanford University.
Same year.
Same year.
And
That was 1963.
how frequently would he
64.
come up for meetings? Would they have those?
They had those meetings once a year. Well, I'm gonna say once a year. And after, he was a trustee for a lot of years, because Melanie and I would drive him up there. And one time, maybe when Jeff was about 2, he went with us. Mother kept him when he was a baby, and I would drive
73.
Daddy. And we had a fun experience with going up there with with Jeff. But Daddy's cousin, Theodore Jackson, was also a trustee.
Mhm.
And Theodore rode with us on an occasion that Jeff and Melanie went. And in the middle of the night, we were in a hotel room. Theodore was in a hotel room, and Daddy and Mother and Melanie and Jeff and I were in the other room.
Mhm.
But anyway, during the middle of the night, Jeff sat up in the bed and he rubbed his eyes and he said, "Where's Theodore?"
Is that
It was the
right?
cutest
That's
thing.
funny.
It just was so cute. He knew that he was all up there with us all the way in the car, and he just walked in the room with us, and he wondered where he was.
That is cute.
Yeah, it was cute.
Last night you were telling about the Jeff and the drums, playing the drums, and Granddad Major.
Yeah.
Tell that story. That was kind of funny.
Well, we lived next door to Daddy and Mother when our children were growing up, and we had a lot of fun experiences and memories just because of that situation of the way that we were. But on Christmas, one Christmas when Jeff was 4 or 5, we gave him a set of drums that involved cymbals and bass drum, and part of it you did with your feet and part with your hands, and that was just something that he wanted, and so Santa brought it. And when Daddy came over to see what they got for Christmas, he got back. Then we had 4 bedrooms in that house, but one of them we just let be a toy room, and they were set up in there, and Daddy just stood there and he shook his head and he wiped his brow and he said, "I'm just glad you got it for him, and I'm gladder that it's at your house and not at mine.
Is that right?
And y'all are gonna have to listen to it." And
That is quite funny.
we did. But he liked to come over and see see their things, and then he started walking in his later years just for his health. He'd walk in the afternoons, and he'd like to walk over and see Jeff playing one-man football out in the front yard.
What was Granddad Major's size and on average? I mean, his height and weight. I'm just curious.
Well,
What's his
he was 6 feet or just.
Dad says he said I'm the
Really?
first SP to be 6 feet tall. I think that's what Dad said about Granddad Major.
Yeah.
You like to say-
Well, he was not as tall as Mark, and he began just like we all do. He shrank a little.
bit, right?
in his use, but he wore like a size 16 shirt, he wore a size large shirt, and I can't tell you if that would be his shirt size, but he was certainly not an overweight man. I don't think he was, even when he was diagnosed with diabetes. I don't think he was overweight, but he was a nice sized man,
But he was
he
very
was a
active.
handsome man. He was.
Yeah, I've seen some.
He was.
It seemed like he got more handsome as he aged. To be honest with you, I mean, he was handsome when he was younger, but I've seen some older pictures. Very distinguished looking.
Well, he was a very distinguished looking man and very well dressed. I told you that when we had that store, I didn't remember the name of it, but it was Hart, Schaffner and Marks.
That's a big name.
That was a big
in
name,
Birmingham,
big
but
name.
Out of Chicago, I believe.
And in Headland, Alabama, a tailor would come twice a year. They'd come in the spring, they'd come in the fall, and he would get a tailor-made suit 2 times a year. And he was just always well dressed, impeccably dressed.
It seems like every picture is a different outfit. Very fashionable. He could,
But he did come in and change into his khaki outfit, which was very casual. But that took him to the farm. That took him out, and he was always doing something. He didn't work out. He didn't. He started that walking, but he didn't. I never saw him do anything athletically. He didn't play golf. He didn't play tennis. I think in his younger years he did, and he certainly played football.
He played 3 sports. We have pictures of him in the baseball team, basketball team, and football.
And he, like I say, I am, was an athletic supporter.
That's
He
right.
he liked to go to the games, and when I was a little girl, 4 years old, and 3, 4, 5, Headland had a Dixie baseball team, a professional baseball team, and Daddy was instrumental in that. We'd go over there to the football, what is now the football stadium, and we had seats, and they had the screen in front, and we'd watch those ball games. The night I swallowed the Corsage pen, we were getting ready to go.
Well, that's a story I want to get back to. Let me ask you about his actual involvement with that team, because I've seen
Where
a
is
picture.
Kate?
She's in the other room. I've seen a picture of him though with the team. It looked like he was a coach. Was he was he a part investor in the team?
I think he probably was an investor sponsor type. Sponsor type thing.
But he loved sports.
He loved sports, and he especially loved sports that Mark was participating in. Now Don tells me that his mother and dad went to 2 or 3 games. Don was quite the athlete, and was a quarterback that connected with Mark as an end on the football team. They were playing at the same time, but we always went. Mother and Daddy always went to the baseball games, the basketball games, the football games. I was cheering also
Mhm.
at that time, but they weren't going to see me. They were going to see.
To support him.
They were going to see.
that.
They were going to see the sporting events, and now Mother, on the days that we had games, and I talk about this, and I'll say, I just never do anything like that. But Mother would cook for us before the game. She would cook ribeye steaks, and there wasn't any such as the, with all the fat cut off.
How would she marinate those steaks? Were they?
She just cooked them before ball games, so she would barbecue outside.
Okay, on that patio in the back.
Well, she had that, that old pit out
Yes.
behind her house.
Yes.
That's what she had to
Okay.
grill on until the later years when she got a gas one. But this, she would cook inside on top of the stove in a skillet. She would cook that ribeye steak. She would cook French fries because that's what Mark liked the best.
Would she cook those in the oven, or would she do those
The
like deep
fries?
fry them?
No,
Was
she
that-
fried them.
Oh wow.
She fried
Okay.
them. She fried them. And she'd fix a salad, and that was the pregame meal. That was to, that was to give him energy to play,
Mhm.
and me energy. Now I was in the band. Mila played the bells in the band,
That's wonderful.
and I was a cheerleader, and Mark was a football player.
Mhm.
And so, anyway, that was football season, and from there we went right into basketball. And back when we were in school, if you were an athlete, you played those sports. Now, you weren't offered tennis, you weren't
Mhm.
offered golf, but you played football and basketball and baseball.
Oh yes.
And the trophy that's given in Daddy's memory
Mhm. Sportsmanship.
is
MWS.
the MWS Sportsmanship Trophy, and it's given every year at graduation. And Mark has been handling that.
You know, I did that a few times when I was at the bank.
Okay, and Don has given it.
Mhm.
This may sound funny as much as I talk, but I don't do well before a crowd. I just don't like to do that.
Is it because you, in that situation, you might get emotional talking about Granddad Major, or you just don't like
I just
speaking
don't like.
to
I just don't like to speak to many people.
Mhm.
The larger the group gets, the less I say.
Well, they say that for a lot of people, that's a greater fear than even dying. Speaking in front of it.
Well, I've had to do it, and I've done it, and I think I did okay with it. But it's not worth it when you dread it that much.
Mhm.
It's not worth it.
Mhm.
And I teach a Sunday school class of, sometimes we have 14, 15. I can
Mhm.
handle that.
You've
But
been doing
I
that.
don't want to be a department, where they're 30 in there.
Right.
I mean,
And you wouldn't necessarily get up in front of the church, for example, and talk about the building, although you were on a committee over there.
those are things that I had to do.
You
and,
did
and I
them,
did
but-
those, but
okay.
I did not.
You didn't
I
get
didn't
a
wanna
lot of
ever do it
sleep the
again.
night before, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about your name, which is interesting. Elaine, your middle name. How did you get that name?
I do not
You don't know. So
I-
no one in the family.
ever told me. And I didn't even.
You never were curious and never asked
I never
Dee
asked.
about. That's interesting.
And I did not think about it in picking out Melanie's name. But those are the letters in Elaine with an M on it.
Yes.
I mean, it's very,
That
the
is-
numbers of the
That
letters
is-
are
Okay, I see that. I see what you're
M-E-L-A-N-I-E.
saying now.
And
Yes.
I never thought about it till after she was named that. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I just think that Marilyn Monroe was the influence for Marilyn. It was never a family name.
And I believe with mothers, I think Dinah Shore was that. So that was this example of that, someone famous at the time.
But people then, and people when we named y'all, didn't do like people having babies today where they study books and names and what the names mean and all of that. We picked names that we liked or that sounded good with McClendon.
Well,
Because there were a
it is
lot.
unusual. We see now that with the girls in the family of my generation, that they, other than Leslie, who had the last name Espy due to the fact Dad carried that name, but like Natalie's middle name, Espy,
Mhm.
Melanie's also correct.
Right.
And
right.
what was the reasoning behind that other than just being proud of the family name? That's interesting. That's unusual, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, I don't know why why they did it. We just wanted to. We just wanted her to have our name
Mm-hmm.
as well. I mean, we knew that she would marry and give up her name.
Mm-hmm.
And now she has named, well, Allie's name is Allison Espy Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And Emma Caroline is the other one's name. And Emma was Granny Espy's name.
That's right.
It was also Grandmother Van's name. It's also the most popular name to date
Of
for
all
little girls for the last 3 years. Has been Emma. And we said, well, that was a family name, though she knew neither one of those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, one time you were telling me, about, it was the first time I had heard it, about Granddad Major, how he would like to go to the hospital when all the grandchildren were born. And I want you to tie that back into when I was born, and if what you remember about that experience, because I did get his name.
Well, the thing about him going to the hospital, he went every time any of them were born, but he was so excited in 1971 because he was having 3 grandchildren. And you know that because I've shown you photographs of every time that he got together, he wanted his picture made with those three grandchildren. And I know now, we've learned a lot as we've aged, and we know what grandchildren meant to them now, because we've got grandchildren of our own, and we also know what that meant to him to have a child named after him. I mean, truth be known, he would have wanted the first boy to be named that.
Did he hint at that ever?
Oh yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
So when it didn't happen, in my case, when it came along and got it, what do you remember him saying? Was he like? He was obviously very tickled with that idea.
Let me say that about the hospital. Jeff was born first. Jeff was born in May. You were born in June. Natalie was born in July. And when Jeff was born, he was so excited. This is my daughter's first child. He wanted us to name him Major Carl.
Major Carl, okay.
That was his suggestion. And call him Mac. And we said, we're going to name him what we want to.
Was there a little bit of contention over that at that time?
No,
or was that something?
Well, he would have loved it. He would have loved it. And now, I wish we had done that. I'm saying that would have meant an awful lot to him. But anyway, when he went to the hospital, he was down at the nursery. Look at this fine boy. This is my grandson, and I'll be back next month because I'm expecting another one next month and another one in April. I mean in July. And so then, Jeff was born, and sweetest little baby that's ever been. And he was tickled to death about him, and he'd hold him at every opportunity that that he had. Well, then we move into June, and you get here, and you have his name. Oh, this one's named after me. Oh. This one is Major Allen, and his other granddad's name is Allen.
That's right.
And this is the only one that's been named after me. And he'd say, but now I had one last month, and I'm going to have another one next month. This is just a great year for us, for grandchildren. So he was awfully proud of the fact that you were named after him. And it meant a lot to him, and I know now how much more it meant to him than I knew then.
Right. Well, of course, I'm honored to have his name and to carry Granddad Victor's name. It's an honor to have that full name, Major Allen Espy. I think about that.
Well, it is an honor, and it gives you big shoe prints to fill.
That's right.
Footprints to fill. Now then, of course, back when y'all were born, we didn't have any idea if you were going to be girls or boys.
That's true.
And so.
Did you have a girl name lined up for Jeff? Mother was going to name me, I believe, Kimberly Allen Grace. Kimberly Allen, I think that's right. Kimberly Allen Espy, or Kimberly Grace Espy. That's what she was thinking of.
Was going to name you and use her name.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we had a girl name for Jeff. I can't tell you what it was. And Don's name was not ever Donald. His name was Don, but we were naming him. We would name him after Don, so we named Jeff Donald Jeffrey McClendon. And McClendon is a long, I'd say melodious name, and I think a short name, or either we love the sound of Melanie McClendon. We thought that was pretty. I thought Marilyn McClendon.
Well, you have to think of what fits with the last name.
With the last name,
Sure.
and I remember this about the last name. Daddy told me right before I married. He said, Marilyn, I was working up at the bank for him because I worked that summer just before we married in August, and he said, Marilyn, you are giving up a mighty good short name. He said, you're going to take on a mighty good long name. But he said, you're going to think about it every time you have to write it.
Sure enough.
And sure enough, that.
Do you ever shorten it just to...
But it comes back to me that he said that every time I write my name.